Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today I want to talk a little bit about my day one impressions, or 24-hour impressions on the new patch. So I have the patch notes pulled up in front of me, and we played a whole bunch. I think I streamed like 7 hours last night or something. So shout out to you guys that showed up. And yeah, shout out to anybody that's new on the channel. I definitely appreciate it. But yeah, I just kind of want to go over things. I didn't get to play everything. I was playing on my alt account a little bit, one of my alt accounts, and yeah, we have some opinions. So Charizard being the first one on the patch notes, pretty good, man. I really like where Charizard is at. I think that having his abilities like more readily available, because he mostly got a bunch of his cooldowns like lowered, and he had the effects increased. I don't have like the full comprehensive patch notes. I have just the real vague stuff, but yeah, it seems like he can do like what his kind of like mid-fight abilities should be. Like, he can actually use his kit more often, which gives him just a lot more strength. It's effectively a damage buff because he's using his abilities more often. He feels good. I already thought he kind of felt good. He's just like a little bit behind the curve, and I think that they really kind of pulled him in line pretty well, at least a bit. I mean, you kind of have to jungle him, so that's kind of not great if you're trying to play like the most effective way possible, because his laning is kind of tough, but there's other all-rounders that kind of have that issue too. So let's move on to Talonflame. I'm gonna be honest here. I think that this update, and I didn't say this in the last couple videos because I did talk about Talonflame and I played Talonflame, but the more I kept playing him through the day, the more I started finding out more things about him, like, really seeing what I feel the strength is at. I think that there's serious potential that this patch might have made Talonflame the best jungler in the game. Now, the reason I feel that way is because he's still combating with Cinderace, but he has insane steal potential. He's a really, really good speedster that doesn't necessarily scale into endgame poorly, and that's kind of speedster's problems. Like, they're just not as great in endgame as they are like early to mid game, except for maybe Zera. Zera still feels really good in that, right? We'll talk about that. But yeah, Talonflame is kind of nuts. I've been doing Aerial Ace and Fly. I know people are all about Aerial Ace and Brave Bird, so maybe I'll give that a try here soon. But Fly has some insane invulnerability, some insane damage, some steal potential on Dreadnought, Rotom, and Zapdos. It just feels really, really crazy. I actually think that Talonflame is at minimum an A tier pick for jungle, but he might be an S tier pick, but we'll have to see. Venusaur. So I played a little bit of Venusaur, and I played a lot of Venusaurs. This change definitely gave him more damage, but it doesn't really feel like it put Venusaur on the map to me. This is still like an early kind of prediction or breakdown of this patch, so I could be wrong. Like, we may find out here in the next handful of days that Venusaur is just absolutely insane, but Sludge Bomb feels really frustrating. I didn't really see many people running Petal Dance, and I didn't use Petal Dance, but Solar Beam pretty good. It's like I said, I don't feel like he's like crazy impactful. I don't feel like his ultimate's just blowing everything up or anything, but it definitely helped Venusaur out a little bit, maybe pulled him up. When you compare him to other SP attackers, though, like Cramorant or Ninetales, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But yeah, pulled Venusaur up a little bit. I don't think it did anything crazy for him, but maybe I just haven't really seen it yet. Absol. Oh, Absol. Increasing damage to opposing Pokemon on Night Slash and Sucker Punch with a bug fix to auto attacks. Absol just isn't good. I think Absol is probably the worst Pokemon in the entire roster. He just struggles so hard to do anything after like the mid game is done. So like literally like 4 or 5 minutes into the game, as soon as people start grouping, Absol just has the hardest time being able to sustain himself and like stay alive. It's just really, really hard to do that hardcore backstab flanker assassin role in a game that is so small. Like, the fights are so compact, and he just takes so much damage. So unfortunately for Absol, I think he is still really, really bad. Wigglytuff, oh my goodness gracious, tank Wigglytuff, annoying double slap the hell out of me Wigglytuff, sing on my entire team for days Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff might be the most impactful change on this whole thing. If it's not Talonflame, potentially it's probably Wigglytuff. She is very, very obnoxious. I'm very excited to see what people do with her in terms of like what team comps come out of playing with a Wigglytuff. But oh my goodness gracious, she feels so tanky and so annoying, and she just kind of runs at you, and I don't know how to even explain it, but I really, really don't like it. But I'm not like being serious. Like, I think it's great for the character. I don't know if I have an opinion on like that's way too strong or that's not strong enough, blah 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 blah. If anything, she's too strong, but you know, let's let Wigglytuff have her time to shine, and we'll make, I guess, a different opinion about it later, potentially. Eldegoss, this is really interesting. Cotton Guard, Cotton Spore changes, and then Unite move changes. She's still great. I still think she's probably still the best support in the game. It's hard to say because she just brings a different kind of value, but oh my goodness, man, if you're playing a team that has an Eldegoss and you don't have an Eldegoss, it's just, it feels hard to beat them. It feels like they can sustain for so long, and the mid fight is so long. So if you have any kind of poking going on, if you don't just hard engage the team that has an Eldegoss, if you don't have one, it just feels like you're not going to win that fight. And man, that's tough. That is tough. Eldegoss still feels very, very insane. I think that like these nerfs, if anything, like were obviously much needed. If it doesn't make her like bad, she's still really, really strong. I think she's still probably the best support. So really good stuff. Cinderace nerfs. You could tell someone that Cinderace got nerfed, and then nobody could probably tell. Still very insane. The hyper carry. The reason Cinderace is going to jungles because he's super strong, and jungle gives more XP than it should, and that's why you're going to see Cinderace jungling still, and it's just really crazy. So Cinderace got a nerf, but you know, don't fear. He's still really insane. So Cinderace is a solid jungle, solid lane pick as well. Gengar. So Gengar's a little unfortunate. He obviously has like a bug, so it's hard to like look at the value that he can bring with Hex, because Hex kind of just doesn't work. So now I know people are using like Shadow Ball and Dream Eater. I haven't personally gotten to play it yet. But I did play against some of it. It seems like he's got just a very different play style, and that's kind of like the point with the other abilities, right? You kind of like slightly like augment the way that you play the character. So we got to get a little bit more time on Gengar, because I still think that there's potential there. It's just hard to say like how bursty he is or how much like poke he's going to rely on before like full initiating, but it could be really interesting. So Gengar definitely got pulled down. I mean, that's just the reality. He was a little overtuned, and now he got pulled down. Was it too much? Hard to say, but we also have to recognize that there's a pretty big bug with his Hex, so that definitely does impact things. As for Zera Aura, Wild Charge getting buffed kind of just doesn't really matter at all, and his ultimate, or his Unite move, getting the damage dealt decreased, but Discharge is still super strong, so he loses a little bit of that like single target burst, but he's still really strong. I think the Zera Aura is like an early to mid game monster, and then he scales into late game pretty decently. So, you know, he definitely has that early to mid game strength that most speedsters have, but he also doesn't fall off a cliff and become useless. So he seems pretty good still. I think there's not really much of a problem with him at all. As for Cramorant, I don't play Cramorant at all. He's like one of the few Pokemon that I actually just don't play. But I played against a few of them, and they still feel strong. I mean, that Unite move is still crazy, and ultimately whatever different abilities they're using, it still feels good. I can't personally tell. Actually, that'll be a really great question to ask. If you guys have any opinions on Cramorant, definitely drop it down in the comments, because I haven't really felt any like big difference from him, but I'm going off of like my anecdotal experience just playing the game. And the same thing for Machamp. Like, yeah, cross chop damage, definitely that got cut down. You're gonna feel that a little bit. I don't think like close combat's the play, because you have submission and cross chop for mobility, and it's just really good. And then, you know, bug fixes on a few other characters that, you know, I don't really even notice, but that's kind of the nature of bug fixes. So yeah, the patch is here. That's kind of like my initial thoughts. I think that it feels good. Like, I got asked a few times, like, do I like the patch? Yeah, it seems solid. I like that it was fast. I like that it was expeditious. The spectate feature is cool. It definitely could use some work, but first time with it, not bad. I really think that they've done a good job with this patch, and I'm excited with the frequency so far. We'll have to see how often they plan to update the game, but you know, what was it, like 2-3 weeks? Really good. So that's my thoughts on the current state of the new Pokemon Unite patch. I think that they did a pretty good job with it. They really did kind of pull some of the high-end characters down a little bit, maybe not enough, but not the point. They pulled some down, they pulled some of the other ones in tighter, and they kind of just brought the entirety of like the disparity of like how strong something is to how good something is, and they kind of tightened it in a little bit. So that definitely feels good. with some exceptions here and there. Like poor Absol, still terrible, and Wigglytuff, who knows, we have to wait and see. But thank you guys so much for checking out the video. I definitely do appreciate it. If you're new here, definitely like the video and subscribe to the channel for future Pokemon Unite content. I will keep pushing it out, I'll keep streaming and stuff. I definitely appreciate all the support. So as always, be sure to be kind to one another, tell someone that you love them, and I'll see you on the next video.